Today's race is brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And by Ford and your local Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? We're in Parker, Arizona for the 16th annual SCORE Parker 400. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed. Working alongside again this year is Jerry Garrett. And Jerry, first of our 6 televised SCORE HDRA events and a huge field.
This has grown to be the biggest desert race in North America in terms of entries, Marty. There's over 435 vehicles here. There's people on a waiting list to be able to compete here.
In Class 8 this year could be one of the toughest battles ever, and Walker Evans, after a disappointing season last year, has come loaded for bear.
He has built 2 new trucks, one for himself, one for Steve McEachern, and they're going to run up front, I think, with those trucks.
He's going to have to compete with the likes of 20-year-old sensation Robbie Gordon and, of course, Scoop Vessels. They finished 1-2 in the points last year. In Class 4, there's also a new name coming from Class 8.
Steve Kelly, a guy who's really a strong runner. He's moving over to Class 4, and I look for him to challenge for the championship right off the bat.
Well, Parker is great for everyone because as of now, everyone is starting the year on equal footing. There are many new vehicles and also old vehicles with new paint schemes. And there are also new teams. One of the largest is a 5-car effort that has been put together by Bosch and Yokohama. Drivers like Malcolm Vinci, Craig Watkins, and Jim Stiles, just to name a few. And some beautiful, beautiful equipment. The team is counting on the factor of safety and victory in numbers. In fact, that's the car Jim Stiles will be driving in Class 1. Another man who has increased the size of his team is Walker Evans. He has added a second brand new Dodge full-size pickup with Steve McEachern at the wheel. Well, Jerry Garrett had a chance to talk to the man who will sit in this cockpit, the boss of the operation, Walker Evans.
Well, the Goodyear Dodge team of Walker Evans is expecting great things this season, and Walker, we understand, is a pretty straightforward truck, so what's going to make it so fast?
Well, definitely the horsepower. I do have some horsepower in this Dodge, but it's got a lot of travel. It's a very organized truck, and we've done a lot of testing up in the Barstow area prior to bringing it down here to Parker. I feel real good about it. One of the trucks has 200 miles, the other one about 165, 70 miles. Fuel consumption is not as great as I'd like, but after all, when you're building horsepower, you got to give up a few things.
Well, with Walker Evans and Steve McEachern driving, you know you're going to have 2 guys with very heavy right feet.
And Jerry, you're right about that. You know, McEachern won the Parker 400 last year in a Chevrolet. This year, he'll try to repeat it in this Dodge. So if you've got a soft, easy chair, get ready for a rough ride, because when we come back, we'll be heading for the starting line for the 16th running of the SCORE Parker 400. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett back with you at the SCORE Parker 400, and this is Vital Junction in California, 15 miles west of Parker. It's the main pit and staging area for the 110-mile lap that will open this year's race.
This is an extremely rocky and rugged course. In fact, the area was once used for tank training for General George Patton's troops. From the start, the competitors will head west about 20 miles to Rice, then turn north to a high-speed section called Thunder Alley. From there, they will skirt the Turtle Mountains, crossing Highway 95 for a second time, and then head south for the finish.
Well, even before the start of the race, there has been a major surprise. The 1966 Ford Robbie Gordon drove to the championship last season has been disqualified because the cab location has been modified.
The new truck's not ready yet, so he'll be driving essentially stock Ford the team just acquired.
I know this is not the way you had planned to start the season. What's going to happen out there today with you?
Well, today we're just going to take the Ford around for some points in 1988 or 89 Parker 400 and hopefully get a good, consistent 3rd or 4th place finish.
Has this been a frustrating experience for you?
Yeah, it has. It's the first time I've ever driven a vehicle that hasn't been very competitive.
Will you use this as a learning experience? I mean, is there something that you can learn out of this that you haven't had before? Because you've always had pretty good equipment.
Yeah, it's kind of a learning experience. It's kind of a step back from what I've usually been doing. But I think we'll get around 3rd or 4th, like I said before, and hopefully come in for a good finish.
Well, that's official starter George Anderson watching the field. Get ready to start this race.
Bill Coffey and Paul Shaver of Colorado Springs will be the first ones off the line, and we can see them making their last-minute preparations now. It doesn't matter how often you've done this or how successful you've been, and this is the time you get the butterflies. Hope that checklist has been followed to the T.
And the green flag waves for Coffey and Shaver and the VW Power Raceco, and the 16th annual Parker 400 is underway. Now number 208, the Porsche-powered Chenoweth of Brian Collins and Bruce Graves.
Collins has really come on the last few races here. He had a couple of overall wins last year, and he's certainly one of the favorites here today.
And he is underway in his endeavor, and that speed limit sign, that's only for pre-running, folks. They'll be going faster than 30 now. 217 is the team of Mike Lund and Buzz Kolb, and they're in a Chenoweth-powered Porsche, Jerry.
And we should see them running up front today. They're very competitive. Now here's the defending class champion, Bob Gordon, in a Chevrolet-powered Chenoweth, and he'll be sharing the ride today with Frank Archero Jr.
Coming into view now, folks, yes, that's a truck. In fact, it's the Chevrolet Larry Ragland drove to the Open Mini Truck title last season.
They're going to trick up the truck this year, though, and run it in the Unlimited class. Go for the overall victory.
Oh, and deciding to run with the Unlimited buggies and go after an overall win, Ragland's team is following the lead of Toyota, which made the same move several years ago.
This year, though, Toyota has one of the most radical trucks you'll ever see, and Ivan Stewart, who drives it, is with Marty now.
Well, we ran it late yesterday doing some more testing with it, but we got the bugs worked out of it, Marty. I think, you know, the more we run it, the better it's getting, so hopefully get in the winner's circle today.
What about strategy for this event?
Run hard like we always do. We're going to have to. The guys are too good. You just can't pace anymore. Got to run flat out.
Now, first off the line in the Unlimited single-seat class is defending champion Mark McMillan, and that's a brand new Porsche-powered buggy.
And here's the Toyota we told you about, mid-engine entry that looks more like one of the factory's GTO or GTP cars than a truck. Team leader Cal Wells incorporated a lot of technology from road racing in the design. And boy, does it sound like it's got some power. Brian Collins starting to move through the traffic already as we go out on course for the first time in the Unlimited classes.
The teams can do almost anything they choose in these classes in terms of engine, suspension, and so forth. And like most of the buggy classes, the Unlimited cars are running on VW power, but a lot of them are switching over to Porsche engines now. Brian's one of them. You just saw him mow past one of those VW powered vehicles.
15 classes in all, and as we go along, we'll try and explain as we go. Back at the starting line at the Chevrolet of Frank Scoop Vessels. Now, Scoop won the final two races last season, but still lost the championship to Robbie Gordon by a single point, and he'd like to start turning that around today, and he is now underway in the 1989 Score Parker 400.
Well, we told you that Robbie Gordon would be driving a rather tame-looking truck today, and this is it, the primer and paint special. It's actually a step up for him because he was driving a 66, and this is a few years newer at least. Now, Dave Shop knows the feeling that Robbie's going through, and he showed up last year with an untested truck, and it lasted only 10 miles.
Beginning of a new season, what about your expectations?
Better in one word, Marty, better.
Ready to go then?
I'm ready.
Good luck.
815 is one of those new Dodges we showed you earlier with Walker Evans driving and Rob Foster riding along shotgun.
And coming up right behind, 817, Dave Shop, who we just heard from, with son Brant riding along. And they are underway, and boy, that is a beautiful paint scheme on that truck, and they kept that the same. A lot of the teams have changed, but that was successful for them. Now we're out on course, and thanks to some of the rain, you'll notice during the week, the dust really doesn't figure to be too much of a problem as it usually is, but the layers of silt have eroded. The rocks have grown a little bit in size, and that could put a premium on tires.
Well, there's Bob Gordon running along with Mike Lund, and Mike's running pretty fast, but you see how fast Bob's running, and he just gave a little love tap there to Mike to try and get him out of the way, and I guess there's going to be enough room for him to get around right here. 2
lanes to pass, and as he passes, we'll say that we'll be back with more of the Score Parker 400 right after this. We're at the Score Parker 400. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett, and this is the pit area adjacent to Shea Road, 8 miles east of downtown Parker, and it's where the majority of the teams make their permanent pits for the race, and also one of the scariest places in off-road racing because it's completely open to the public.
Watch out. It's here that the racers will start and finish 2 100-mile laps in Arizona. Now, most of this is well-graded roads, and speeds up down through here should be appreciably faster than in California. They even go through a ghost town.
And as you can see, it winds its way through. And if you're wondering how the contestants get from the California side over to Arizona, well, the race vehicle is loaded onto the trailer and transported over to Arizona. Each entrant has 2 hours of mandatory downtime, and in that span, the teams can make whatever repairs are necessary. Now, most of the drivers are able to grab a bite to eat and relax a little bit while the mechanics freshen up the cars. And as you can see, that was Robbie Gordon's team taking their vehicle, and they are right now running in 5th in Class 8 as they head for Arizona. Now, what's happening here? Well, the Chevrolet of Jerry McDonald, who is in 2nd in the 4-wheel drive mini class, is under repairs. Let's talk to Jerry McDonald.
Well, it actually went pretty good. Up on Thunder Alley, we had to run in 5th gear up there, and we happened to blow 5th gear. So all it left us with 3rd and 4th, and so we brought it all the way in. We went from 1st back to 2nd, but we're changing it now, and I think we'll be in real good shape on the Arizona side. The truck ran really, really well. It's just kind of going a little too fast, maybe.
Well, the 799 is the Simon Simon Ford Ranger, and we show the brothers leading the McDonald Chevrolet by just over 4 minutes. Now, Dave Simon drove the California Loop, and now it's going to be up to older brother Paul. It's his responsibility to take over the wheel here in Arizona.
Well, we got the lead right now, and we want to hold the lead. What it's going to take is just a lot of smooth driving and make the guys that are chasing us mess up and hurt their truck. Hopefully we can keep it together and win this thing.
Well, here we are on the Arizona starting line, and that is Danny Lentner, one of the Class 2 vehicles. And boy, the 61-year-old Lentner, Gary, doesn't look like he's too uptight about the race.
No, he's trying to stay loose here. He's got a good run going, and he'd like to add Lentner name to the record books again. His son has won this race 4 times.
Well, he is ready to restart, and Danny Lentner, Henry Bergdahl, and the Raceco Porsche. And ready and waiting behind them is Manny Esquera. We had a chance to talk with Manny.
Well, so far real smooth. We lost the hood right just before Rice, but other than that, we haven't had a problem. Kind of taking it easy in pavement to make sure we got all through the California side. This side's pretty fast. We're going to get with it over here and open up the gap if we can, just in case we do have a problem.
Well, Manny Esquera leading in Class 7, and here we are out on the Arizona Loop. That is, again, Brian Collins in Class 2.
Now, Marty, we show them running 2nd in Class 2. They're about 20 seconds behind Lentner and Bergdahl, but remember, this is a timed event. We won't know exactly who the winner is until quite a few cars have finished.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more of the Parker 400 right after this. Marty Reed and Jerry Gare with you at the Score Parker 400, and that is Brian Collins. And Jerry, Brian was leading but stopped to help another driver in an accident.
He was trying to pass the guy. He flipped. Brian was worried about him. He waited till help came. Cost him about 20 minutes, and it may have cost him the race.
The man who has taken over the lead unofficially from our standpoint is right there. That is Danny Lentner's age 61, not thinking about retirement yet.
And 231, very close behind, is the brother team of Tim and Ed Herbst in a Chenoweth Porsche.
Then 217, again, the Mike Lund Buscombe entry right in the middle of the battle for Class 2 honors. This one is still up for grabs. Meanwhile, this is Dave Schopp again. He struggled for years to land a factory contract, and he thinks the increased involvement of the manufacturers has been one of the keys to the increased competitiveness in Class 8.
Well, I think with the entry of more sponsorship and more interest from private enterprise in this sport, which is really good. I think we're seeing better vehicles. I think we're seeing a lot closer attention paid to, construction methods. This thing's getting real serious, and we can see 7 or 8 real strong competitors the whole year with first-class equipment and some really quick new trucks.
Well, Dave is definitely one of those 7 or 8 potential winners, and right now he's enjoying about a 30-minute lead in the class.
And continuing to cruise along. Notice again, we pointed out earlier, but whenever you see those rack of tires in place, that's a good sign that the truck is running without problem. Speaking of good running, Mike Sciringa, he has taken over second place unofficially.
And right behind them, Robin Tulliners, who was second after the first Arizona lap, but he's dropped back one notch now.
That doesn't matter. Those two drivers, that would be the best finishes for them in a long, long time. 813 is coming into view. That's Chris and Larry Miner, the truck Steve Kelly drove the last several years, owned by businessman Larry Miner, Chris's father. He operates a 3-car drag racing team on the NHRA circuit.
And he grows a lot of potatoes up in
An
Idaho.
awful lot.
This is the car that we show as the overall leader. Now, that's number 112, but we've got to check those times. We want to emphasize that.
725, the team of John Johnson and Chuck Johnson, who are not related.
Well, Johnny Johnson was with Simon & Simon last year, helping them win the Class 7S title and take second in 7 4x4. And the year before that, he helped Mike Leslie win the 7 4x4 title. And B.F. Goodrich got the two of them together, put a good team together, and I think that they've got a good chance to win this title again this year.
Here's 759, Scott Douglas and Ted Kendall and another Ford Ranger. Douglas and Chuck Johnson teamed up late in 86 and won the 7S title in 87. But the team split late last season. Douglas is now out on his own.
757 is the Yokohama Toyota of Malcolm Vinci and Mark Hansen, and they're running fourth right now in 7S.
And Manny Esquera is having things his way right now. We have him up by 30 minutes on the class and in control of the race. Still no hood on the car, but it doesn't seem to be affecting the Motorcraft Ford.
Now, Roger Mears is running back in second place. He was an hour down, but he's made up more than 30 minutes on Manny. And when we talked to Roger at the beginning of the show, he said he was going to keep running no matter what, and I think that strategy has paid off for him.
Maybe too little too late, but it'll be a big boost to the team if they are able to put this together. You know, Roger's had problems with broken hubs. The team is now starting to wonder if maybe because the truck is so fast with so much wheel travel, it's stretching parts beyond their intended limits. Well, this is Jack Johnson continuing to set the pace in Class 4 with no problems so far as he streaks towards the finish line. And number 500, the Unlimited Baja Bug, defending class champions Hartmut and Wolfram Clawwitter.
The brothers won 6 of the 8 races that they ran last year, and they're getting pressure in this one from the ATV racing star Marty Hart, who's about 5 minutes behind them. A good debut for him in a 4-wheel class.
Well, that's Steve Kelly moving up on the Clawwitters. He is not concerned about them. He's trying to make up lost time in contention in Class 4. 2 different classes, 2 different types of vehicles. But again, everybody races over the same course, and you get a lot of passing going on in those situations.
Now, Rod Hall in number 410 has taken over second place from Kelly. He's about 30 minutes down, though, to Jack Johnson, and I think he'll need a lot of help to pull out a victory in this one. Truck running good so far, sounds like.
102, James Barbeau of Las Vegas. Now, he is in contention for Class 1 honors.
505, the Unlimited Baja Bug of Greg Sandin and Larry McCallum from the Imperial Valley in California, and they're running about 3rd place right now.
And number 900, LaPlante VW of defending overall points champion Nick Gross and Joe Valentine. They kicked off their title-winning season with a victory here last year.
And behind them, number 406 is the Jeep Honcho of Don Yostin and Larry Monroe, and they're 4th in Class 4 with 1 lap to go.
Now, we told you that this is a timed event, and some of the early finishers are now approaching the finish line. That is Brian Collins. Now, whether or not he is going to win this race overall, we do not know yet, because Danny Lentner's pulling in, but looks like he's got a bit of a problem, Jerry.
Well, he's pulled over to one of the pits there. I think he's bypassed the checkpoint. He's backing up now. He needs to get that chit from that man right there in his cup to officially be called a finisher, and now he's going to streak right in there behind Collins and hopes he hasn't lost enough time to cost him the lead.
We'll have to wait for that. Meanwhile, out on course, the 116 is William and Brian Church. They are going to finish 3rd in Class 1 at the present rate, and you can see how the sun is fading fast.
And we believe, yes, this is 1019, Craig Watkins and Greg Aronson, and they have led Class 10 all day long.
10:30, the team of Dennis Green and Mike Jolson in the Jimco VW. They're about 10 minutes down to the leaders in their class, but it does not look like they have enough miles left to catch up, and this is a very steep part of the race course here, and as we pointed out, the lights are now on as the sun is falling behind the hills here in Parker, Arizona. Good battle for position here, Jerry.
Still a lot of racing going on out here. The lot of the class championships with this many vehicles are still being contested pretty hotly. That's 558, Tom Lake and Rich Roberts out in front, and they're being pursued by Robert Whited and Carl Haynes, who won the class here a year ago.
Then 239 is the Raceco Porsche of Matt McBride and Steve Serapis, and right behind them,
556, Ross Kraft and Alan Cook. They're from Palmdale, California.
And we've been following the fates and fortunes of 799, the Simon Brothers Ford Ranger, and they are running comfortably.
They have a big lead now that Jerry McDonald's dropped out with engine problems, but there's still a ways to go for this particular vehicle in this class. The race has a 12-hour time limit, and many of the competitors will use every bit of it.
Well, that was Chris Robinson in the Jeep Comanche. He is leading Class 7S. To give you an idea, there's 2 class leaders there. Now this is Chuck Johnson and Johnny Johnson, the Ford Ranger. Johnny Johnson at the wheel.
Chuck drove the California side and plans to turn it over for the rest of the way to Johnny. Johnny's a real veteran, and if anybody can pull out this Class 7S win, it's a close battle. Johnny Johnson can.
Well, look who's coming into view. Roger Mears said he was going to finish come hell or high water, and he is plugging along in that direction. He may still have a chance. Manny Esquera is having brake problems. Stay with us. We're heading for the finish line at the Score Parker 400. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett back at the Score Parker 400, and boy, do we have a dandy battle going on in Class 4. That is Steve Kelly out in front in the white Chevrolet. Right behind him, defending class champion Jack Johnson in the Nissan. Look at him, Jerry.
Oh, Steve's making his first start in the class, but he's wasting no time asserting himself. He's obviously learned how to use up all of the road back in his Class 8 days.
Did you see the air that Jack Johnson took trying to go off course just for a second? It cost him about 3 car lengths, but already trying to reel him back in. And look at Steve just kicking the dust up, and Jack's got to find another route.
Yeah, Jack can't see back there in the dust. I mean, that's lights out stuff right there, and he's coming up to a dip right here. He's going to have to back out of the throttle a little bit.
Uh-oh. This is a sad sight for Ivan Stewart fans. That is the Toyota, and listen to it. There is something definitely wrong in the truck, and according to the preliminary reports that we're getting, the clutch has gone out.
Yeah, and here's something going a little faster. That's number 799, the Ford Ranger of Paul and Dave Simon in the four-wheel drive mini truck class.
Right behind him, Jerry McDonald in the 766. Now, McDonald drove the Chevrolet now being driven by Steve Kelly. Back inside again with the Budweiser Nissan and the Bosch in-car camera with Roger Mears. He's gotten clear of some more traffic, and his only real problem at the moment is the continuing glare of the morning sun. Boy, look at that, going downhill and flying.
The truck's running real well for him right now.
719, the Motorcraft Ford Ranger of Manny Esquera. And as we mentioned, Manny's 4-year reign as class champion ended last season, but he's determined to start a new string this year. He's never really gotten or wanted a lot of publicity for his success, so to learn a little bit more about the man, we spent a day with him recently. Parker is one of those towns where everybody knows everyone else, and Manny Esquera is just another neighbor. Born here 45 years ago, Manny starts each day at the family's restaurant, Los Arcos. In the kitchen, he can handle a knife as skillfully as he handles a steering wheel. And business is so good that if he had to choose between the restaurant and racing,
I think I'd have to stay with the restaurant. I enjoy it here, although I do like the racing too, but you know, that's only for so long, and you got to stay with what you're going to have for your life, you know, and I think the restaurant's what would be my choice.
You quickly learn Manny Esquera is a man devoted to the work ethic. From the restaurant, it's on to the family's 250-acre farm, where he plows the field.
We come from the reservation, and I mean, we struggled, and we got as far as we could. Then they separated, and then my sister more or less took us over, and we struggled, but we made it, and I think we're pretty successful at it now.
For all of his strengths, Manny has one fear: horses.
I was always deathly afraid of them. I don't know why. It's just something in me that always scared me. Every time I came close to them, I started shaking and just literally did not want to be by them. My uncles insisted, no, you're a cowboy. You're one of us. You're one of the Esqueras. You're part of the Romos. And they'd always take me right up to the horse, and there I was shaking, and they'd make me touch it and pet it. And, oh, it was just miserable for me. I never did like it.
Fortunately, with over 10 class titles and 40 victories in 13 years, Manny does not have to worry about becoming a cowboy.
I think we need this tire because of the rocks. The rocks over there are growing because of the course being used so much. But over here we got power lines that have been graded. It's like a freeway. The only thing that's rough is the wash and the side hill. And the side hill, I mean, it's so rough that you're only going to go so fast.
But as this season begins, Manny Esquera is without one of his key players. His sister Dolores, the woman who helped raise him and sponsored his first race car, died this past year from asthma. Manny called her the best co-driver he ever had.
My sister always seemed like was the best. Anytime the traffic behind us, she was watching out for it. When I needed something, she knew it before I needed it and was always ready for me. And just a whole bunch better than my brother Tootie and Ralph.
Manny's plan is simple. He has dedicated this year's Parker 400 to Dolores. There is no arrogance when he says his team will win today. A very close-knit family, as you can tell, and our thanks to Manny Esquera for sharing a day with us. And boy, I'll tell you, the way he is eating up traffic right now, he is on his way to keeping his promise.
I've got to tell you that Manny, too, suffers from asthma, and he has a tough time out there with the dust.
He said, you know, it was interesting as we look at trouble for Walker Evans, just to get back to that for a second, he says it's when he relaxes that he has the most problems. Well, flat tire right now for Walker Evans, but maybe even more problems. We'll check on that in a little bit. 102, James Barbeau out of Las Vegas. That is a VW-powered Raceco as we're getting back closer to the finish of the California Loop for some of our front runners. And here's another look at Dave Schaap, who's already gone farther than he did here a year ago when suspension problems sidelined him after only 10 miles, Jerry.
Well, all this attrition we've been showing you has helped him move up, and I think we have him leading the class unofficially right now at this time, so he's having a good run so far today.
Notice those two tires on the back? That means no flats as of now either.
Well, you can add Bob Gordon to the list of those with early problems, and they're working on the CV joint back there at the right rear of the buggy, so I think that he's probably out for the day.
And then bad news for the Gordon family because, as we see, Dave Schaap is just sailing along in Class 8, which means bad news for son Robbie. Watching the truck, it's obvious there has been great improvement since last year.
Well, Dave actually parked the truck last year. He was so fed up with it, he went out and got his old truck, drove it to a win in the Gold Coast 300, and then spent the rest of the season trying to sort this new one out again.
And there goes James Barbeau through the crowd of spectators that have stayed around to watch the finish of the California lap. And right behind him is Dave Schaap, who is the leader after the California Loop here at the Score Parker 400. And as Dave heads for the Arizona side, that's where we'll be when we come back to the 16th annual Score Parker 400. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett back with you at the Score Parker 400 and looking at car number 211, a Porsche-powered Raceco driven by Jerry Penhall and Dennis Miller. And whoa, number 204's pulled off with some problems there. Those of you who were with us at last year's Nevada 500 may remember a dispute over that same truck at the time.
Well, they built it to run in Class 8, Marty, but they had some radical ideas on the front suspension, and the officials didn't go along with it and said, you're going to put it in a different class.
Well, John Randall is on the sidelines, and we had a chance to talk with him, find out what's wrong.
John, what happened?
Well, that's a new car and all, and we've got some front arms in here we're trying to get the shocks to work with because we have so much travel in the front end. And this is plan 2. We got a plan 3 to get ready for the next one, so we'll be out for the day.
Nothing you can do about it?
No, we broke part of the trailing arm and the link bar that holds it to the lower control arm, so we're going to put it back in here and go back and watch them for the rest of the day.
Well, better luck next time to John Randall and the team. I know they're working hard on that one. Back at the starting line, that's the 702 of Roger Mears and Nissan, and he is carrying the Bosch in-car camera again, and this is what the start looks like from his perspective.
Now that morning sun is just glaring off the ground. It almost looks white from inside the car. But the course is giving the drivers so many problems out here today that the sun is probably the least of them. What scares these guys most, I think, right through here is the spectators. The spectators think that the drivers have everything under control. They don't know what a wild ride this really is, and I think I'd stand a little farther away if I was a spectator.
It certainly does look close when you're looking from that angle. And there is the 719. Manny Oscara, Tootie Joe Oscara, Ford Ranger. Manny had his streak of titles snapped at 4 straight by Larry Ragland last year, and he is now underway and will give chase to Roger Mears here at the Score Parker 400. And this is the 809 out on course. We showed you starting him a little earlier, Scoop Vessels in the Chevrolet.
Well, this is a section of the course that allows the drivers to really stand on the gas, and Scoop is standing on it especially hard here because their goal this year is to run for the overall victory. So he's going to open this truck up wider than it's been opened up in the past and really see what it can do.
Now, Class 8 is for two-wheel drive pickups, Jerry, and really they're almost as unlimited as the buggies.
Well, one thing that they have to do is put the cab on in the same location, and that's where Robbie Gordon ran into troubles.
Well, here's another look at Brian Collins in the 208. Brian runs a construction company in the Las Vegas area when he is not racing.
In fact, if you go down the list of competitors, it seems a majority of them work in some sort of real estate or construction business or something related to the automotive industry.
Well, here comes a train of 3 cars, and we're told that the last one in the group is 233, the Raceco Porsche of Jim and Mark Temple, and believe it or not, that's a father and son team that also runs a construction company. And yes, it is the Temple team.
We want to remind people last year that the Temples ran up front, actually won this race and got disqualified for charging a checkpoint.
There's 105, Jim Stiles in one of the Bosch Yokohama Class 1 entries, one of 5 vehicles in 5 different categories.
They hope to get that vehicle sorted out and running a little faster. Well, we're back inside now with Roger Mears and to take a look at the Bosch cam. And, oh, he's running into some traffic here.
That was Luke Jones, I think, that he just passed, Jerry.
Well, Roger's had a tough couple of years here and hasn't won too many races, but he's determined that things will be different this year.
This year, I mean, we're really going out to, we're going to finish no matter what. I mean, that's our motto, is we're going to finish. And, we're going to, we want to win, obviously. That's number one. But last year, I think we could have really been more in the hunt, in the points. We really want to go after a championship this year. And in order to do that, you got to finish races. We had some engine failures last year that really cost us. And we really feel like we got that worked out. So no matter what it takes, if it means we're going to finish 2 days later, we're going to finish.
Well, good luck to Roger today. He's still in the running with Manny Oscara. This is Steve McEachern in the Dodge.
Steve signed on with Walker last year after running a Chevrolet last season that had a lot of success, but is now parked in the corner of Walker's shop in Riverside.
Speaking of Walker, the boss is right behind his teammate. He never was able to really get the Dodge Dakota working. It was then declared ineligible for the class, and he's hoping this new truck will get him back to the winner's circle.
Number 808 coming up here is the Chevrolet of Mike Scheringa and Jeff Bonnet out of Blythe, California, and they're running pretty well so far today.
One of the independent teams, not a lot of heavy manufacturer dollars behind that operation, and they are certainly, like everyone else, when you come to Parker, you're starting out even. 820, another one of the independent teams, Robin Tulliners and Dan Noyes in a Ford that's about to celebrate its 20th birthday.
Well, 814 coming up here is another Ford. It belongs to Jim and Frank Manka from Fontana, California.
And right behind is Dave Shop in 817. He's under pressure from the number 1011. That's a Toyota-powered Raceco driven by Dana Jones in Class 10.
It's really putting on the pressure there.
And this looks like bad news for Frank Scoop Vessels. The word is it's a broken crankshaft, and he is out of the race. We'll have more from the Score Parker 400 right after this.
Go ahead.
Marty Reed and Jerry Gare back with you at the Score Parker 400, and that is the 400 of Jack Johnson in the General Tire Nissan. Jack and Steve Kelly had a tremendous race around California, trading the lead at least 5 times before Jack finally emerged with a 1-minute advantage. Now, Jack was a 4-time winner last year.
Now behind him, still having a close race, is Steve Kelly. The only problem that Steve had on the California side is he just about emptied a 55-gallon fuel barrel.
In 110 miles, they had to put back 52 gallons of fuel. Unbelievable. That's about, what, 2 miles to a gallon? Number 410, the Dodge of Rod Hall. He was the dominant figure in Class 4 until last year.
I think you got to call a spade, and I don't think we're the favorite in Class 4. these two new high-tech trucks we have to run against are just faster, more agile than our old Dodge. Our Dodge is a good 8 years old now. And so we're just outclassed technology-wise with our truck. But, you know, there's more than one way to win a race. I mean, you can be smart, you can be fast, you know, you can be sly as a fox. And so we're going to have to go on a little different premises right now than just stand on the gas and outrun them. So we're going to have to play a little different game this year until we get our new truck running. And so we're not counting ourselves out of the winner's circle yet, but we know it's going to be a little tougher to get there.
Well, we'll look for his new truck around the Mint 400. Number 594 is the team of Cameron and Grant Steele, and we show them running third in the 1600cc Baja Bug class.
And right behind him, the 725, the Ford Ranger of Chuck Johnson and Johnny Johnson, one of the more interesting new teams for this season.
And 727 is the Jeep Comanche of Chris Robinson and Jack Schlaman.
And right behind that, look out, here comes Dave Schopp again. We show him about 3 minutes ahead now, unofficially in Class 8, after that opening lap. Boy, he just keeps motoring on.
There's been a lot of attrition in this class, and that puts 820, that old Ford of Robin Tulliner's up there in second place. He's doing a great job.
Well, we mentioned that Scoop Vessels was out with a broken crankshaft, and we're told that Walker Evans and Steve McEachern both broke the rear wishbone in their trucks. The team is trying to get McEachern running again, but Walker is through for the day, so a big opportunity here for guys like Robin Tulliners and Mike Scheringa and a couple others who don't normally get into the top 3 or 4 to make a move. And speaking of Scheringa, here he is in third place.
Well, he's doing very well. He's only about 20 minutes down right now, and that's a lot better than he had a right to expect, I think, before this race.
Excellent, excellent performance for those two guys. Now, this is the 806 Ford of Dan Beaver, and we're going to try to hook up with him on the radio.
Okay, listen, guys. Right now, we've got you unofficially running in fourth place. How's everything going for you?
We got a little behind on the California lap. I'm trying to make some time up on this lap.
What happened over in California? Bring us up to date.
Oh, it was just real rough, and you know, we're kind of in an old truck here, and we kind of have to stroke back a little.
Well, so far, you've outlasted people like Frank Vessels and Walker Evans and Steve McEachern, so you must know something about this course.
Well, it is my home field advantage here. I think I do know a little bit. I think those guys...
You and Manny Esquera, both Parker boys, tell us really how much of an advantage is it, especially here on the Arizona side where you've got to run 2 laps?
You'll have to come back for that, buddy. I didn't get it.
Okay, I'll ask again. You and Manny Esquera both are Parker residents, and you do run out here a lot. How much of an advantage really is it for you?
I think it's a tremendous advantage. I grew up on these roads as a kid quail hunting, and I still use them to quail hunt every year.
Well, Dan, we'll let you get back to work. We appreciate it. We'll see you at the finish line.
And the quail better look out because he won't be hunting them. He'll be running over them with a truck. One of the more likable people in the sport, Dan Beaver.
He's limited his racing the last couple of years while he's trying to scrape together enough money to build a new truck. And as an independent running in a high buck class, that's not the easiest thing to do.
And off he goes, continuing his way. Now here is Robbie Gordon motoring along in that almost stock truck. He is now running 6th. Not a pretty paint job, but so far he's just trying to get some points. Running 6th at this point.
766, Jerry McDonald back running again in the Joe McPherson team Chevrolet. He preps both of the team's trucks. He's done most of the development work on them as well.
Remember, we talked to him as he was getting ready for this loop, and now underway and trying to make up some time. 765, the Ford Ranger of Darren York and Steve Schlachter. They've temporarily taken 3rd place away from 768.
Well, John Swift and Dino Pagueda in another Ford Ranger. Swift had several strong finishes last season with Kurt Leduc as his co-driver. Overall, the Fords are having a pretty good outing today.
Well, look at the way the suspension works in this tough wash area. Great shot of the suspension. Well, here is Manny Esquera, and whoa, wait a minute. He's lost the hood on the truck, Jerry, and it looks as though it's not hurting performance at all because he's certainly not slowing down.
If he's running that fast to blow the hood away, he's really on the gas. Now, Roger Mears, we understand, who's running in 2nd place in the class, hasn't vanished completely yet, but he was down for almost an hour with a broken wheel hub. So right now it's Manny against himself, and he keeps it together doesn't make any errors, he's going to have a victory here.
Well, speaking of Roger Mears, he is the third vehicle in this freight train. He has no intentions of staying in that spot, though. Look out, here coming close to the camera. Fortunately, the guys ahead have no interest in holding him up, and neither does our cameraman. Meanwhile, back with Jack Johnson in the General Tire Nissan. We understand he's well in front now, thanks to unfortunate troubles for Steve Kelly. He's getting ready to overtake Unlimited Baja Bug leader Hartmut Klauwitter. Before the race, we talked to Jack about the pressure of defending his crown.
Well, I don't feel it myself because I've just got to fill that void in between the steering wheel and the pedals, so it's not really a big problem for me. The team is really feeling a little bit because of the preparation it takes to win another championship. Make the truck keep finishing is really tough. You know, there's a lot of moving parts in this thing, and we thrash them pretty hard. So they feel a little bit, but I think it'll work out really good because the team's really got their act together now.
Well, what Jack didn't mention was the controversy that's surrounded this truck since its debut, because of its controversial tube frame construction and lightweight. That had to make the championship even more satisfying for him.
Well, Steve Kelly is underway again. He lost a lot of valuable time with a fuel system problem. The team's running an experimental injection system, and apparently one of the control sensors went haywire on him. That's probably the reason why they were gulping gasoline so much. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of the Score Parker 400 right after this. Marty Reed and Jerry Garrett back with you as darkness has really come on us here at the Parker 400. Coming back into the finish line, that is a truck, and that is a Ford, and that is the General Tire Ford, and a very happy Dave Shop. The last time he won here in 1984, he went on to win the class title, so obviously he is hoping that history will repeat itself here 5 years later in 1989. Number 400 now coming in, that is Jack Johnson, opening defense of his class title with a victory. Meanwhile, Jerry Garrett has moved over to Dave Shop. Let's go to Jerry.
All right. Well, Dave, sometimes you think you're going to win, and sometimes you don't think you're going to win, and I don't know if we're a good profit on this one or not.
Well, I knew we were going to do better, Jerry, because we've made some big changes in this truck. We've got a little ways to go with the back of it, but it runs hard. We ran the last lap in Arizona without any shocks on the back of the thing. They became disconnected, kind of, but the car sure runs good. The General Tire Ford today did a hell of a job.
You ran up front pretty much all the way. Did you lose the lead after you got out in the lead at all?
Well, we stopped before we got to Rice twice because the back end was making some noise, and we probably were down a total of 10 minutes just looking at the car and really trying to decide whether we wanted to go on. And my mechanic, who's really responsible for the success of the car, Kim Klepper, said, be a hell of a day to test the car, so we just went for it.
You could have dropped out. You would have been pretty sad.
No, you know, you got to do it. You got to get them out and just work the dickens out of them. And we had a tough year last year, and we're not going to have the same kind of year this year.
Yeah. Congratulations. You're off to a good start.
Thank you, Jerry.
Meanwhile, champagne, and it looks like, yes, a victory kiss from Olga Vernon, team manager, to her driver, Jack Johnson. We'll be back to talk to Jack here at the Parker 400. First this.
It's been a furious battle all day in Class 4, and Jack Johnson, you pulled out a good, close, tough win.
Yeah, we had a good race today. Had a good battle with Steve Kelly early on, and just things kind of went our way. We held everything together. I think Steve had a transmission problem or something and took him out, but we had a good battle. It was a lot of fun. We were dicing it out.
A little downtime at all would have hurt you very seriously in this race. You really didn't have any.
Well, in the early portion, it would have really hurt us. Later on, we could have afforded a little because we started getting a little breathing room. But we didn't have a flat, nothing broken, just everything went smooth. The T-Mag General Tire Nissan did a good job today, just held together, and the team just really put a good effort out.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Jerry.
Well, Jerry, while you were talking to Jack Johnson, we can tell you that Manny Oscara may have had failing brakes, but he did not fail in his quest to win the Parker 400. His 9th victory here, and he did a superb job bringing home the victory for the hometown friends and, of course, for his late sister Dolores. He said that he was going to win this race, no arrogance at all in his voice when he did it. And congratulations to Manny Oscara. And Now we can take a look at all the winners and send our congratulations to Dan Cornwell in Class 1 and overall champion Danny Lentner in Class 2.
He won Brian Collins by 2 minutes there, and that stop cost Brian dearly, but it was worth it.
Reams and Reams, the winners in 1-2 1600, over 60 entries in that class. A tip of the hat to them. Jerry Dougherty in Class 3.
Jack Johnson wins in Class 4. He was actually the fastest truck overall, and he passed more than 200 vehicles.
The Claw winners again claim Class 5, and meanwhile down the list in 5-1600, Robert Whited, Newton and Tuttle in Class 6, and of course Manny Esquer in Class 7.
By about 30 minutes over Roger Mears.
Then in 7S, it's not the hospital people, Johnson & Johnson, it is Chuck and Johnny, and then the Simon brothers in 7 4x4.
And down in Class 8, makes it a 4-class sweep for Ford with Dave Shop.
And in Class 9, Nick Gross wins again.
Nick is the defending overall points champion in the Score HDRA Series, off to a good start again this year.
And then in Class 10, the team of Watkins and Aronson.
That was a close class victory there. And in Class 11, the Zandbergen family pulls it out.
The Parker 400 has shown us that a new season can be a great start for just about everyone, certainly for Dave Shop after a dismal 1988. He comes back to win the Class 8 crown, and, well, meanwhile, Jack Johnson continues his winning ways in Class 4, but we also learned something else today, Jerry.
Well, I think Brian Collins showed us all that there's a higher level than winning in this sport, and that's good sportsmanship, and a tip of the ESPN hat to him today.
For Jerry Garrett, I'm Marty Reed. We hope you've enjoyed today's coverage of the Parker 400. We'll be back again soon with another HDRA Score Desert Race. We hope to see you then. Today's race has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And by Budweiser. Beechwood aged for that distinctively clean, crisp taste that makes Budweiser the king of beers. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Miles to the most treacherous